Good morning, everyone. So those of you that look at this, I guess you can't see this yet, but my friends call me Turbo. A lot of responsibility comes with the name Turbo, right? So before we get started, I think it's important, as the last session this morning with breakfast being the case, we've got some full stomachs out there, right? You've been sitting in the same seats for an hour and a half or so. By the way, some great content this morning. I feel humbled to follow the fellows, including Alex and Steve, that I'm following this morning. But I want to divert your attention over to my good friend this morning, just for fun, Craig Lockard. Okay, anybody know Craig? Can I get everybody to stand up? You've been sitting for an hour and a half. Can I get you to stand up? Craig taught me, Craig's one of my mentors in speaking, and one of the things he taught me is physiology affects your psychology, and I have to get to your psychology in the next 24 and a half minutes. So what I want Craig to do is to get you warmed up, get those bellies going. I got to battle tablets and cell phones and all that other kind of stuff. I don't want to battle lethargy. So Craig, could you take it for 1 minute before I get going, please? My friend Craig Lockard.
Like crap, right? So, to that end, I think there's two people in this room that really are great examples of that. One is Tim Jackson. This guy bicycles, 1 million miles a week, right? So his physiology is always in top form, which affects his psychology to be able to run the best dealer association, in my opinion, in the country. And I don't think it's even close. And turns actions into an affair like this. The other is my friend Troy Turbo Spring. Same thing. His physiology affects his psychology, which affects his actions, which has taken him where he is today. So, to that pause, I want you to do a real simple thing. Put your right hand in the air like this.
Come on.
Put your left hand down here like this.
There we go.
And I want you to make this sound go, oh. Go ahead. Oh.
Oh.
Go ahead. Keep doing it. Oh. And when I slam my hands together, we're going to say yes. Oh.
Oh. Yes. Big for Craig. Everybody big for Craig. Yes. Yes. Hey, where's the clicker? He didn't hand it. Where? Is this it here? And no. Oh, all right. This is a no. Okay. So anyways, good morning. I got you up and awake, right? So what I want to talk about today, more selfies going on in front here, love that. So again, my name's Turbo. Full disclaimer about my 20 minutes that I've got left. I'm humbled by the fact that I get to share it with you. I need to make sure that it is worthy of your time. I want to send you back to your stores. If you're a vendor, I want to send you back to your company, but I want to send you back with an actionable item and some energy and some enthusiasm. So full disclaimer for me. I'm very over the top. I'm a little in your face. 80% of what I talk about I think is going to affect most of you. 20% of you probably already do what I'm about to talk about. So with the 100% of facts that I'm going to talk about, if you are already doing it, all I ask is that you nod your head up and down and you say, got it. Clap for me because I'm right, and let's get everybody else on the same page. Fair enough? So I got to figure out how to work this thing. Which one? There we go. No, that's backwards. Forward. Charlie, how did you get this to go forward? I got it. So, this story starts 31 years ago. Pause for the audience to laugh it off. That's me with a mullet, some mouse glasses, my sad attempt at a mustache. I owed my father $500 in 1987, so now I've told you I'm 49 years old. But anyways, I owed my dad $500 in 1987. And he said, "Hey kid, there's a dealership down the street hiring, you ought to go get a job." I said, "Okay, I'll go get a job." At the end of the first week when I paid him back, he said, how'd you get the 500 so quick? I said, "My commissions." And here I stand 31 years later. I fell in love with the business, being able to pay him back in a week, right? How cool was that back in 1987? So I'm hoping I don't have to pause the next 18 minutes for you to laugh that off. I want to tell you a little story about that kid. I happen to know him pretty well. I got my first job and I thought, this is pretty cool. I love the fact that they gave me so many rules that I had to follow, right? But it was intense. Please, raise of hands, and I need some participation, right? So, raise of hands. How many of you have been doing this more than 5 years? How many more than 10 years? How many as long as I have? 31 years. All right, so hopefully you can remember some of this. Share with me if you remember the days when you got your first job in the car business, and that was kind of my manager. I couldn't find a picture from '87, but my boss reminded me a little of that guy. And the story I want to tell you, I'm going to set the stage as the showroom. The stage is the showroom for me. I'm going to take you back to 1987 through this story. You are my lot. You're the lot. You're the cars. And what did I do in 1987? Because there was no internet, right? I didn't have internet. I didn't have leads. I didn't have chat. I didn't have any of that stuff. What did we do? That guy told me to do what? Stand here in the showroom, look out at the lot, and do what? Not miss. Right. I know you can finish my sentences. I know you can. Don't miss an up, kid. And what else would he do? What would happen if I got the up, right? I walked outside. I said hi to Mr. and Mrs. Jones, but I couldn't control them, right? I couldn't control them. So all of a sudden, 10 minutes later, I'm back at my desk, and this guy sees me as I'm trying to enjoy my morning, and what's he say to me next, right? "Troy, what? Where's your up? Where are they at?" Anybody follow me so far? Make sense? Were you there? So, do it again, see what happens. No TO, out you go. How many of you, raise of hands, please, really, how many of you have said the words, no TO, out you go, or heard them? That put me on this stage. I promise you this. That put me on the stage because if you really think about it, back in those days, you didn't break the rules or you got what? You got fired. I happen to really look back at that time and think, my gosh, I'm glad I learned from somebody who taught me so well, right? I had some incredible managers that taught me the process. I'd go to the desk and they'd say, you know, what's your customer's name and where do they live? And they'd go through this whole process, and did you do a walk around and a demo drive and a service walk? And by now I'm kind of hoping, as much as I absolutely think we have to talk about attribution, we have to talk about bots, we have to talk about autonomous cars, we have to talk about the online buying process. I learned so much the last few days from some of these speakers. I mean, it's incredible. I feel ready for what? The future. But what I want to talk to you about today is what's going on in your store right now, this second, so I can send you back and have you sell more cars tomorrow. Fast forward 15 years. I'm now the general manager of a pretty large store. I was a regional manager for 4 stores for them for a while. When they restructured and got rid of the regional managers, I was lucky enough to get a Hyundai store doing about 125 cars a month. And as a general manager, as a regional manager, I knew that the general manager was underperforming. He was about ready to get the boot. But at that point, I took over that store, and I want to slow this down and share with you. This is fact. 2007-ish I am now, maybe I'm 20 years ahead. We take that store from 125 cars to 225 cars in 4 months. It had been averaging 125 for 36 months straight. My first month we do 185. My second month we do 210. Then we're averaging 2.25 after 4 months. What happened to me is interesting. I didn't know any better. I just went and did what I do. But what happened was, guess who I got the attention of? Hyundai is asking me, how are you doing it? My managers of the 11-store group, how are you doing it? Vendors are asking me, competition's asking me, friend, how are you doing it? I'd like for you, if you have one thing that you write down while I'm up here today, to write down right here. It's a really, really simple formula. I shared with all of them. There's nothing to it. You drive more traffic to the store. You have a very highly trained sales staff that can handle that traffic, and you make sure you have inventory to sell them. I just want you to take that in for a second. I want to ask you very honestly and clearly, do you agree with that? In the most simplistic form, with all this craziness going on around us, we're talking about everything going on in the future, everything that's coming, everything we're worried about, everything we're up against. And we go in the morning and we look at all these cars out on the lot, and I can tell you it hasn't changed. This is what I want you to take back to your store. All you have to do in its most simplistic form is drive more traffic to the store. Make sure that the team is really highly trained to handle the excessive traffic that you're going to bring, and make sure you have plenty of good cars and a really well-rounded inventory to sell them. Would you agree it's that simple when you boil it down? I'm seeing a lot of heads nod up and down. Thank you for that. So as we travel now, fast forward a little bit more, another 10 years, I own a company called Dealer World, and we are an advertising performance agency. We work with dealers across the country to help them sell more right now. That's our slogan. I'm not going to pitch my company, but I want you to know who we are. Sell more tomorrow, yesterday. No, I want you to sell more now, right? And when we go across the country and we sit with stores, this is that part where I tell you 80 to 90% of you are going to go, I think he's onto something here. Maybe we should do that. 10 to 20% of you are going to go, we're already doing that, Troy. You have your stuff together. Your store is perfect. Again, fair? This is what we find. And since I don't have enough time, I'm going to go backwards here if I can figure this thing out. Since I don't have time to talk to you about all three today, I bolded the one that I think right now in this day and age needs the most attention. For me, this is what we find needs the most attention. We need to make sure that driving traffic's not really all that hard. You know, honestly, most of you know how to get your lead counts up, your sessions up, your traffic up, your this up. The leaks in the system are not normally at the top. The leaks in the system are maybe in the BDC, maybe in closing ratio, maybe in gross profit, maybe in holding enough gross. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about that number 2 thing today, a really highly trained sales staff and how to convert more. Okay, so the helicopter. What's the helicopter? Fly me in a helicopter. And again, follow me. I want to story tell, and I want you guys to get invested in this with me for another 12 minutes and 2 seconds. Pretend you're in a helicopter. Pretend I blindfold you, and I tell the helicopter guy, the pilot, fly them anywhere over to the United States and drop them down at a dealership anywhere. You following me so far? I'm gonna drop you, I don't know, Arizona, Connecticut, Maine, Texas. I'm going to drop you someplace at a dealership. This is what you're going to find on average. I need to do it that way to share with you because some of you do have your stores running like clockwork. I'm here to help the ones that don't. What we find a lot of is about a 15% ratio of BDRs or BDC human capital to the 12 salespeople they have. So I literally walk into dealerships and I go, what's going on, guys? We need to sell more. We're putting an ad in for more salespeople. I go, you got 12. You got 12 5-car Freds. What do you need more salespeople for? And then I go, how's your BDC? How's that working for you? And you know what they say? This is going to be great. I didn't put 2.5 down here, but this is an answer I get a lot. Well, we've got 1, 2. No, we got 2.5 in the BDC. Could somebody please explain to me what a half a person looks like? I want to see. They always say that it's the receptionist that wanted extra hours, so they throw her in at night, and she does some work in the BDC. What I'm going to share with you, and the reason this is important, is because nothing's changed since 1987. That's where I'm going with this. That's who works in the BDC. That was their last job. I mean, no disrespect. Some BDCs run like clockwork. Please remember, I'm talking to you about the average. I'm trying to paint an over-illustrated picture for you because I'm positive I'm right. I sit with dealers over and over and over again, and I say, So who's in the BDC? Well, I got Johnny and I got Susie. With me so far? Please nod your heads up and down if you're going, I know this happens. I got Johnny and I got Susie, and I say, okay, so Johnny and Susie, how old are they? Well, they're millennials, because that's my internet department. I said, great. How many cars have Johnny and Susie ever sold before in their entire life? What's the answer, everyone? Almost none. Almost never. If you really ask, again, if you ask about the averages is what I'm talking about, not an individual store that has their stuff together, how many have they sold before? None. They've never sold a car before. If you can recall my buddy with his feet up on the desk, right? My old Tommy Borries, my first sales manager, where's your TO? Where's the customer? No TO, out you go. There's no TO system. There's no judge by the sales team. They're judged by the sales team all day. Please, just clap or something if I'm right. Tell me I'm right. Right? Am I right? Okay, good. So here's what drives me nuts, and I get passionate. Remember Turbo? They call me Turbo. So here's what gets me nuts. I got a sales guy, and he's probably on the next slide. Hey, hold on. There he is. So I'll go backwards a little bit, but there's the sales guy. He's sitting out on the floor. He's waiting for traffic. Mr. 12-car, 5-car Fred, one of the 12. And here's what happens. Finally, Johnny and Susie set him an appointment. They bring him in. And what do? They ask him, why'd you bring them in? They're a 510 credit score. Why'd you bring them in? I see you. I see you over there nodding your head up and down, right? So they're judged by the sales team all day. They're too upside down. Why'd you bring them in? They're not ready to buy a car. Somebody talked to them last week. Well, I say maybe they'll run into a closer this week, right? High turnover. How much turnover is there in the BDC? Because we're not training them. They're not making enough money. And my gosh, here's my point. They're criticized for bringing in a customer. And here's my point. Please write this one down. 350 people in your store. I'm going to say 500 leads. Again, I'm using averages. Some of you have 1,000 leads. Some of you have 200 leads. I'm using averages. 500 people are touching your store at the top level. How many people now? Remember 1987, the only way you could communicate with me if I'm a salesperson at a dealership in 1987 was what? What are the two ways? Walk in, shake hands, or what? The phone. How many of those 500 now, we know, right? How many of you trained, and I'm just going to go backwards a little bit, how many of you trained years ago how to handle the objection? It's the first place I've been to, we're going to go 5 other places. How many of you trained or were trained on how to handle that objection? Nobody trains on that anymore because of the whole 1.3 thing. Because it doesn't happen. Because they made their decision where they're going to buy a car before they get there, yes or no? So 500 leads are coming in, but 350 of them are being handled by these two. I asked for a moment of silence almost on this. It's ridiculous. 350 leads are coming in. And I want you to hear these next words, because when I did this presentation at NADA, my wife said to me, don't forget to use the word real. That was powerful. You have 350 real people that want to buy a real car from your real dealership that you have really millions of dollars invested in, right? And we're letting them, and over illustration, my apology if it offends anybody, but my point is they've never sold a car before, and there's no TO system, and here's what happens. This is my phone now. I've got Susie or Bobby on the phone with a customer that wants to buy a $57,000 F-150, and they get a trade objection they can't handle, and they hang it up. I got a sales manager busting their stones about how many ups they're going to have today. I got a sales manager saying, hey, how many leads did you set today? I got salespeople busting the stones of the BDC because they didn't bring in enough people. But what I don't have is anybody that is willing to take the phone with the fat guy, the real guy on the other end of the phone that wants to buy a $57,000 car that Susie can't handle. She should say, hold on one second, sir. And there should be one of the highly trained salespeople, sales managers, closers, people that are trained to handle that objection, have been doing it for 20 years of their lives, yes or no? There should be somebody there to take that call and get the guy to walk through the door. Sorry, I get a little passionate about it. Right or wrong, we should TO those people, not just the phone. How many of you have a very sophisticated CRM tool that has texting? You have a sophisticated tool that you could text back and forth with a customer. You know how many times I walk into the dealership, they have it, they don't use it. You know what they're doing? They're still using templates. They're still emailing back the customer. Hi, Mr. Customer, thank you so much for inquiring about the 2016 Chevy Silverado. My name's Susie, blah, 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 blah. Yes or no? Yet right here, in that same system, they got a texting system. I've heard multiple people say over the last few days, raise your hand if you got an email and didn't answer it. You got emails in your inbox right now that you didn't answer while I started talking. And how many of you got a text that you answered? And we have sophisticated texting tools in our systems that we're not using because they're not trained. Fair enough? Where I'm going with this whole thing is, again, you got people that want to buy a real car, and they're shopping. They're shopping your virtual lot. Point of my conversation today, folks, as I get ready to wrap up, the only difference between when I started as that young kid with the mullet and the hair and the mustache and today is where the physical body is. The physical body's at home. And you know what's cool about it? The wife, the husband, the significant other is probably sitting right next to them as they inquire about the car. You have so many different ways that you can communicate with the customer right now. Here are the 5 ways, if you want to write something else down. Here are the 5 ways you can communicate with a customer. Remember back in '87, we got the first 2. They're still around, aren't they? Hi, folks, how are you? My name's Troy. It's nice to meet you. Let's shake some hands. I can get a phone call. Little audience participation. Give me another communication channel. Email. So I can get an email now that I couldn't get in '87. What can I get else? What else? A text. I can get a text. And what's the last one? Chat. Anybody got another way? Telepathically? Video. Video is going to go through one of those channels, though, correct? Video is going to go through text, or, that's a communication. YouTube, I get it. That's not really one of those channels, but that's more of an advertisement. That's more of a branding. I'm talking about true communication back and forth. I'm going to text, I'm going to chat, I'm going to get an email, I'm going to stand on the showroom floor, shake a hand, or I'm going to take a phone call. Would you agree those are the 5 ways? So my point is, the only difference right now is where the physical body is, but we've added 3 more communication channels. And what we've done, I don't have to put them back on the screen again, is we've said that all of our salespeople that have been here for 20 years, just keep doing it the way that you've been doing it. You can handle the people that walk in. You can handle the people that we took the phones away from them, did we not? We took the phones away. And then even more recently, a dealership put in the delivery person. So now I've got a BDC that sets the appointment for them, takes the phone call. I got a salesperson who takes them for a demo drive, a sales manager who closes them, and then they hand them over to somebody to deliver the car so CSI is better. I mean, if they're not figuring out yet that they're absolutely killing themselves, they're getting to the point where they're going to be absolutely obsolete. Yes or no? We're just not going to need them. So in closing, unless I have another slide. Oh, here's the shift, yes. This is today. This is where I feel it should be. Go back to your stores, the actionable item that I want to give you, the thing that I want you to go back to your store. I feel compelled that I flew 2,000 miles to do this, and you took your time to sit here today and listen to me. You have to get something out of it. You have to go home and say, glad I heard that guy talk, or I feel like I let you down. Go back to your store and take a real hard look. And if you're already doing this, just take the mindset and maybe take it to service. Maybe take it to the service writers. Maybe take it to some other portion of your business where you can go, wait a minute, how do I keep the machine cooking? Is every part of that machine moving? Right? Because if I put 40% of the people into the BDC with a strong manager, somebody overseeing all of that, somebody truly, truly invested and accountable to that up count, then I can Then let me tell you the magic of what happens, and I'm down to 3 seconds. I'm going to go just a tad long, my apologies. Let me tell you what happens. I've seen it happen firsthand. Where we've put this into place at a couple of stores, what happens to sales staff retention? It goes up. Why does it go up? Let's talk about that. Dive a little deeper. Why does it go up? Because they're making more money. So you no longer have 5-card Fred. It's an honor to be a salesperson. It's an honor to be fed all of this traffic. It's an honor to be told that Mr. and Mrs. Johnson are coming in at 12 to look at a RAV4. Yes or no? And guess what they do? They start making $100,000 a year again because they're doing 24 cars apiece. They love their job, they're proud of their job, and they never leave. So if you want to fix the sales staff, you want to fix retention, you want to look at all these items, I implore you, I'm begging you to go back to your stores and look at how you sell more cars right now and today, tomorrow. Take a look at that BDC and truly ask yourself whether or not you have a system in place that maximizes all of the advertising dollars that you're spending and driving 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 800 leads a month. And are they being taken care of in a way? Because I can tell you this business is not as hard as we're making it. I value your time. I hope you enjoyed it. My name's Troy. Thanks a ton.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you very
My
much.
pleasure. Thank you.
Great energy at the end of the morning.